Okay, testing, 1, 2, 5. See how this goes. Make sure all my audio mixes and all this. Well, okay, I think we're doing this right now. Happy Halloween, everybody. Welcome to McDonald's tonight. I'll be your night manager. I'm gonna take your order. Dressed up in a suit. We're gonna talk about profit tonight on Halloween. It's a good one. The night manager. Night manager and innovative potential. I decided as a night manager for McDonald's because it did for being able to micro factory stuff. The restaurant business, manager of a restaurant business. But they manufacture something. So this is what it is. They run a little micro factory. But they're not our example tonight. It's just, tonight is actually Halloween. It's October 31st. I worked a kitchen job when I was younger, but I never actually worked at McDonald's. I've been at McDonald's, I've had tours, but I had friends that worked at McDonald's, just had different paths. Figured McDonald's is profitable because they won't be as big as they are if they weren't. And somewhere out there is an actual McDonald's. Lightning. So without further ado, I'm going to talk about profit. There's another video up. We've done this. Well, this is the third time's the charm for this video. The profit one is hard to do because you're trying to go from a general case from here is a trade and sale of a commodity or a unit of product kind of thing, and then take that one example straight through all of these other things, and it grows. This wheel grows exponentially as you like go through. Okay, we made a hamburger from like it's gonna get stuck on the McDonald's thing quite often tonight, so bear with that one. So it's like you made a hamburger in the 1950s, but then in 2023 you have half the world conquered with these restaurant franchise locations. And McDonald's has its own universities, it has its own things, it has its own theme songs, it's growing under its own impetus kind of thing, and that's something, that's an accomplishment. So basically the wheel of profit tracks and helps you get a handle on what the heck you're supposed to be doing and what are the major milestones of actually what's happening when you're in business, or even when you're working and selling your own skills and services. So it does become kind of the we just took all of this extra time making something and then you just give it away for some paper. But that paper is also a product. It's someone else's product. It's the intermediary product. Because otherwise you could trade hamburgers for labor directly. Just feed the army directly. Without having to exchange dollars. Provided you have that type of monopoly to be able to do it. So that's what McDonald's will become. Just being able to if you dig up limestone and quarry, if you dig up minerals for us, we'll feed you. It's that kind of scaling that this wheel type tries to like encapsulate on it. And this is the original. This is the second to original. The wheel that's up there has. The wheel that's up there has an alteration wherein the arrows coming out are actually inward bound, and that was the original one. It switched back to on the website, and I'll show that right now. Just as soon as I get it up, and it's just it's good circuit 2020. Boom. There you go. Just put it over top. Over top. Bring us back to the front. First in line. Every time. There we go. So this is the new one here. It's circa 2020, 2022, 24. Right now, this episode. And it's basically saying that this wheel is just going to keep spinning forever. And now with COVID and everything that has happened since COVID, so this is basically here since COVID. It hasn't really changed that much, and we're going to go through it. So basically, we start at a need for something again, and go to sales, growth, marketing, economy, and then circle back into sales. So how this works is sales is broken down into a need for something, environment feedback, market niche, market transition, alternative products, customer migration, and ancillary products. Your growth section for this is ancillary products, advertisements, structural change, development contracts, meeting the right people, networking, and government programs. Marketing is government programs, customer checkpoint, initial sales, business presentation, responsibilities, identity shift, and budgeting. Economy is then budgeting, commitment, plans for action, research, ideas for solution, memes, and a need for something, and then that goes back into sales. And what's happening here is each of these sort of divisions is actually sort of like there is a little bit of an overlap in wiggle room before you actually sort of transition all the way on this. How this is going is it's the opposite of creating something. So it's like a lot of people just get jobs without actually having to create something. That's why I'm using Halloween, because you create your own costumes with Halloween. You're supposed to make your own costumes. Like the idea behind Halloween, you're supposed to make your own costumes, right? So that in and of itself is sort of, in order to participate, you're showing you're able to at least sort of like do a minimum buy-in for Halloween. And then you get the profit by just like, well, the costume gets you the candy. The costume gets you the treat. That's the idea here. So it's like, if you participate, you get a reward. And that's sort of what the Wheel of Profit is all about here, where it's like, well, if you make the hamburger, you get the money. If you provide the case of beer, you get the labor. That's kind of how that works. It's pretty much all just straightforward. It's like a taking for granted business, but where you get stuck and where you can make more money is by addressing some of these things from a money production standpoint, not from a product production standpoint. And that's kind of where everybody kind of loses sight that, money is actually a product. It's a product of a corporation that produces, paper denominations to a certain standard. And that's kind of really gotten like disconnected in terms of the real world because there's just so many people. That fundamentalness in meeting the demands of like transactions, that money as a product is like totally lost on so many people because there's no digital currencies. There's digital mechanisms with which to say thank you, basically, and exchange products between people. So So it's really like a huge deconstruction of the society with this wheel. But innovative potential is monopoly. So there is no society. So we start with a need for something and move into environment feedback. Typical examples of this, like I'm just going to be like typical examples of this, like I need something. So we're going to go to the place where that thing is, and we're going to find the location in the place where that thing is. And I have market transition up here because it's able to satisfy like a store kind of commodity situation example, where it's like, well, if I go to the store for one thing and kind of buying like 10 things, that's kind of what the market transition is. My one market was I needed this one thing at this one place at this one store, and it came out with 5 other things. That's market transition, that's alternative product, that's customer migration, and that gets into just sort of like how people purchase things. It's like if they're hungry, they're going to buy more when they're hungry. So I don't want like people who are full at the grocery store. I want people who are hungry at the grocery store just making their purchases because they're going to buy more when they're hungry. That type of stuff. But the environment, and okay, I'll address this earlier than later. The colors, so government program at the bottom and environment feedback are both in black. The environment feedback here is that you're able to find the location, you're able to like function, like what type of business, it's almost like what type of business is it? Is it real estate business? It is a consulting firm? Is it an industrial complex? And this is like your municipal sort of like grid lines here. It's like, oh, what is it zoned for? Do you need special land usages, and where is this business going to be found? So you really kind of got to like take the wheel and individualize it for yourself. Innovative potential. The end user and the environment feedback, that's kind of where my end user is. So in innovative potential, it's like a hospital, it's a research lab, it's something like that. Our market niche is like when you have, if you want to make a new drug, use innovative potential's hardware to sort of skip out some of the in vitro and in vivo work, use our hardware instead and go with that. Because it's cleaner, I don't have to babysit any cells. I don't have to do any cell culture. I don't have to have the animal to create the cells to do it. It's a in silico technique that is able to give you some good parallels with actual systems, and that sort of sets you up if you're in the from the molecular design standpoint to be able to really sort of key in to how this molecule is going to start behaving electrochemically. That's in terms of like protein transitions, if you want to do like molecular work, stuff like that. That's where the linear sweep voltammetry comes in. That's where the HPLC work comes in. That's where just sort of like, here's this plus this, and we get that in a beaker, and that result tells us something more about chemical identity and how, like, what does this have to do with product and sales and all this. It's like, the point is I'm saving you money doing this. So nobody ever talks about savings. Everybody's always like, oh, money. Not making mistakes saves you money. It actually, by not making mistakes, earns you money. Because when you're at McDonald's, if I go to McDonald's and you fuck up my order, I'm not going back to McDonald's. You lost me as a customer because you can't take a simple instruction. It might be the middle of the night, but you serve the customer a burned patty and it tastes like shit and cardboard. You're fired, you stink, they're not coming back. You didn't lose $20, you lost $250. it's going to be $250 of that individual spending money across all my competitors instead of getting the order correctly, you showering, and then them coming back on Tuesday in between meals instead of saying, no, you fucked up my order, I'm not going to you, I'm going to wait for 6 months until I give you another piece of food. It works in a large metropolis center because you don't really give a shit who the actual person is, but you would be making so much more money if you didn't fuck up the orders. And everybody has an order mess up. So when an order messes up, it's like, no, it might be 6 weeks until they show up again. You could have had that person 6 times in 6 weeks. That's how this relates to sales. It's like, don't mess up. Even still, money makes the world go around, right? Well, this is how the world spins when money is involved. This is the wheel of profit. By innovative potential. Now, for those of you who don't know, Innovative Potential is the current owner, both the Canadian corporation and the US LLC of US Patent 111-98943 and Canadian Patent 3035406. And those patents are for medical equipment that has gotten water designated as a prodrug. So it's extremely important. It's very important. That equipment is, we've talked about it on the past, but the spooky thing is nobody seems to give a shit. So I don't really care anymore. So what happens here is people need a cancer drug because they're dying. They need to not die from cancer. And they go to their doctors, and the doctors are like, well, we don't have this piece of equipment because we don't know about it. Okay. So then the doctor has to go to their educational programs to say, well, where does doctor medicine come from? Doctor medicine comes from like a veterinary toxicology, pharmacology world. That's where innovative potential exists. Our market niche is in the oncological veterinary areas, but they're also in the human veterinary areas. Also, we extend through drug development and design into medical device hardware areas as well, because Innovative Potential has this whole process patented. So not only is the hardware, not only is this an exclusive economic zone for medical device hardware, but other drugs can pass exclusively through Innovative Potential's hardware and have a new unique effect applied to them during their clinical use. So that's where Innovative Potential's market niche is. Our market transition is where when the patient starts dying and is not able to have any new drugs used on them, this is where Innovative Potential actually just shows up. Like all your other drugs have failed already. It's time to use Innovative Potential. That's the market transition, because Innovative Potential is, because we're the new guy, we are the alternative product. But even still, Innovative Potential works with alternative products already in use. So it's like, we're not really in competition. We're saying, like, when this stuff fails in the course of these diseases, or if you'd like to try different chemical approaches to different pests, or because we also apply to pesticides also. So any type of new chemical or new molecules, how that works. We are also able to provide hardware and educational services for development also. So we're running the full spectrum here. And that forces customers to migrate because they don't have a new option. They don't have any other options. We are your only other options, because we just spent 15 years proving that you don't have any other options. Without Innovative Potential, one person dies every 3 seconds. And then ancillary products. So what's the difference between an ancillary product and an alternative product? So an alternative product in the world of Innovative Potential is what are we going to call it? alternative product to innovative potential, and the CGP here. An alternative to that would be like radiation treatment, surgery, and or like other types of drug activation techniques, photodynamic therapy. So an ancillary product is a supporting product from innovative potential. So the wheels of education are ancillary products to your cancer cure. They help get your doctor educated fast enough to understand what the hell's going on, to be able to say, in the course of your treatment span, I get your doctor from 0 to, well, they're probably already going at 60, from 60 to 70, within within a 2-hour time frame, within a 1-hour time frame. I have to be able to get your doctor, who's never heard of this, confident enough that they're going to be able to use it on you within a 6-week time frame. That's what innovative potential is. We're shortening it's like Operation Warp Speed we had for COVID. It shortens your education gap down to from here, that you can play in the developmental side and learn all new stuff, but it's like when push comes to shove, this thing gets these drugs get activated in 4/5 of a second. When you need your cancer cured in 4/5 of a second, come and see innovative potential. Take the shot. And that leads us into advertisement. So it's like when and as you see business grow, that's when you come into advertisements. You get slogans, you get all this other stuff to try and get it into people's heads even faster that this technology exists. It has this function in it, and it is reproducible. There is you trust the McDonald's brand because it is consistent. It has been consistent for 50 years. It's when it fucks up that you hate. It's like you can trust the familiarity of McDonald's, but you can't trust the familiarity of innovative potential because that 60 years of repetitive use isn't there. It's like you've never had a hamburger for 50 years, but hamburgers could have existed for 80 years. So how do you get somebody who's never eaten a hamburger to eat a hamburger? You give them a hamburger, say eat it, or would you like to try a hamburger? Like, no. Like, well, then fuck off. Like, literally fuck off and die. Like, that's what we're dealing with here when you're the new guy. It's like, would you like to try a drug would you like to try some drugs you just used on these people to try and cure their cancer? You want to try it a different way this time? And the doctors are sort of like, I don't know, yes, maybe. So you get the whole spectrum of like, yes, we'll try it. No, I don't give a shit. We're just gonna wash. We're just gonna wash them, bag them, tag them. So that's really sort of the spooktacular confession of this one. It's like you do get all of the doctors here where it's just like they're either gonna be super interested in like, oh yeah, we got like this whole veterinary medicine thing set up. I'll call my associates from university because it's new. We've never learned this in university, so I get to call all my buddies from university and say, hey guys, guess what? We got something. Versus the guy who's just like totally his patients are gonna die because he's so fucking disinterested. So that's kind of where we get into advertisements and structural change, because you really have to break these people down for the sake of their patients. And if they're not willing to do it, you have to be able to be fast enough to go someplace else to get the other people to bully their colleagues into using this technique. That's the reality of it. Because it's technically cheaper to do this than an actual McDonald's hamburger. This medicine is cheaper than a McDonald's hamburger. It costs a battery and a pencil lead, plus the drug. You're not doing anything new. Anyway, so how does this turn this whole wheel of profit Well, you charge money at each of these different points to support the business itself. Innovative Potential has a bunch of alternative products. We're up on the website. You charge to own one of those products. At Customer Migration, it's like I have to charge you for education. I have to charge a doctor some education fee so that they pay attention. It's like when I go to the gym, I only go to the gym because I'm spending money on the gym. At $600 a year is the incentive to go 3 times a week, to go 3, 4, 5 times a week, because you don't actually get the value out of it. I'm very much about value. So it's like you're not actually getting the full value of your education by not actually doing this. So when it comes to structural changes, it's like it's more in the you have to add a new procedure or capacity for a new procedure into your regular chemotherapy repertoires, and it's a low cost, low overhead. If you're going to go in and do some type of exploration or a stent input or a like if you're doing a day surgery, you can do this intratumor injection within the day surgery type of like repertoire of your regular everyday hospitals. If this was something like a liver transplant, yeah, you're gonna have to design whole new surgical suites and stuff for that one procedure. You don't really have to do anything for this procedure. It's a syringe. Ultimately, it's a syringe that injects the tumors as you go to give you an advantage, to give you the toxicological advantage over the regular drugs going through the veins. Because there's a whole other there's a whole wheel of cancer biology that says that tumor is not getting enough drug. And everybody knows that tumor is not getting enough drug, so you got to make sure that it gets enough drug. You know what I mean? So there's a structural change in development contracts, meeting the right people and networking, and like, well, how do you grow your profits, and like, what is all of this? So I'm going to swing you back up to the ancillary products here, and this is basically, I said it last time, but it was muted. This time I'll say it again. It's like, as your business is growing, start a GIC or a mutual fund for the business itself. That way, the money that the business has is able to make more money separately. So it's like the money your business makes from. So like if you're the McFranchise owner, take that money. That's sort of almost your retirement money, but it's your business's play money, because your business is going to be paying you also. So make sure you get this financial correct here, because I fight bank employees over this because they're so fucking stupid. Bank of Montreal, I'm looking at you still because you just fucked up so fucking badly. So what's going on here is I'm at odds with the BMO because I was stupid and did business with them for 30 years. And then suddenly they just pulled up and disappeared without any future support possible, which is just bullshit. So what I'm talking about here is with money, Innovative Potential has its own tax-free savings account, but also has its own investments. Put money into the businesses as investments so that as those businesses mature, you get money back from the business's investments. But you also have to do that for yourself. That's what we're talking about, ancillary products. The business has produced, if you're selling Play-Doh, it's Halloween. I got it in a trick or treat bag tonight. So if you're selling Play-Doh, this is your primary product. But through the sale of Play-Doh, you get a piece of money. You put the money in a different account that's going to give you dividends. It's going to profit for you twice. The money's going to this is what they mean. You profit yourself. You pay yourself twice basically by owning the business. And then that becomes the play money or reinvestment money for the business itself. So your McDonald's franchise has someone paying the McDonald's franchise even when you don't have, customers, basically. You could have a business without any customers and still have it like continuously be funded for growth. And it basically puts you into a growth position permanently because you will always have money coming from this other fund. It's the same idea as having a retirement fund through your own skills and labor. So you put away your money in a retirement fund or a savings fund, and that gives you money for when you stop working. But your business can do that also, because your business is operating at instead of $100,000 for paychecks, your business is operating in the millions for multiple paychecks, right? So that's sort of the same idea here. Advertisements grow your business. People are a lot more familiar with advertisements. But there's I'll go positive and negative with this. There are positive and negative advertisements that you can take out. Some of the advanced strategies here are basically, if there's a product or a concept, so it's like, if you want to, if we're in the burger business, I want my burgers to be preferred. So I'm going to start a little company that that really promotes healthy eating styles and healthy eating habits independently of my burger organization, but have that company favor mine against all others. So you have the good, so people eat hamburgers even if they're on a diet kind of thing. But what's going on here is I promote healthy eating through my Wheel of Health literacy, but I sponsor my burger joint with it. I make you not like other people's hamburgers at the exclusion of my own hamburgers. That's the beauty of it. I make innovative potential. We're not even doing that because I'm not even going to start thinking about that. Because now you're getting into don't use radiation, use intratumoral injection. And then you make a whole thing that's no, you're not getting into that. That's bullshit. Don't do that. Because burgers are burgers, they're not medicine in people's lives. So there is it's not a fine line. It's pretty chalky here. It's like a brick cinder. It's like 2 cinder blocks in your hand where it's you just don't do that. But that's a sort of idea. How to grow your business through alternative means and alternative efforts. It's not really underhanded because we actually want you to live a healthy, balanced diet, but we want you to use hours, and that other company over there is saying use hours to fulfill your energy requirements during your your exercise days or something. By the way, Wendy's, it's actually Wendy's. The Wendy's grilled chicken has the best fat caloric, the best health profile, overall health profile for all the major brands. It's the Wendy's grilled chicken. It has spinach or something on it. It's the best sort of all-rounded formal sandwich out of all of the franchises. If you're calorie counting, macro counting, or just wanting to lose weight, that's sort of the sandwich. But that being said, start designing your menus for people who, are wanting to go to the gym or wanting to lose weight, or, you know what I mean? You get rid of that guilt bullshit of having to, I eat too many chocolate bars, I'm going to get acne, or I'm going to get fat, or I'm going to get obese. No. Start designing your menus to, work with that type of crowd. So you get salads, make your burgers. Burger doesn't have to be 1,000 calories to be healthy. You can make a 1 veggie patty and a 1 regular patty together, and call it the low-cal burger, and it'll still be fine. There's nothing morally wrong with that, but people will, instead of 2 burgers, you get a veggie patty in there, and it's healthier for them. But they still feel as full like they eat a regular burger. That's lighter, right? Anyway, ancillary product added, structural changes, development contracts. This is more of you having to actually business grew in volume, so now the frequency of repetition isn't keeping up. So you might actually have to change locations, or like move across the street level to change locations, or remodel. You might have to remodel to be able to fit a larger kitchen to handle the more demand. Or you might have to have like a new trucking. If trucking is really just like a pain to offload your trucks and your supplies and stuff, that might have to be like redesigned, like reconfigured into a new design or something like that. But that's sort of the idea here, where it's just like, okay, well, how does this all work? So that's what we're talking about, structural change. You might actually have to physically change the building if you grow fast enough. A lot of times it is like how you make 10 units is not the same way you're going to make 100 units all at once. You might have to come up, like, you know what I mean? You might have to come up with a new manufacturing method, and that's what the structural change is. And then that comes into a new development contract, because it's like, well, now you need new resources to supply your new volume. So that's sort of the development contracts there, and they're straight. They're very specific. They're very like case specific, but you know what your development contracts look like, what they're going to do, and meeting the right people. Sometimes it's like meeting the right people is difficult, because it ties into networking, and it's more from this order of operation is more from the wheel of asset creation than it is for the wheel of profit. So how this works is, for you to make money, you need to meet the right people. And one of the prime examples for this is when you go to like the MSNBC television shows of like basically one example is this guy's doing business for a chain of hotels, and they want to use like a hot sauce or a shampoo from a somewhat successful but not as wide scope as this thing. So these guys go on a show with their hot sauce, with a bottle of hot sauce, to ultimately distribute across a whole bunch of hotel chains. They've met the right person because they want to do business, and they're networking in the right sort of business spheres. But part of that development contract is you have to change the recipe, because the level of acidity of vinegar is not palatable to such a wide audience. And the people were like, oh, how do we do this? But it's like, we're at the same, like, they didn't want to do that because they didn't know how to move beyond that. And that's where the government programs come in, because all of this kind of happens all at, like, it's a gradient all at once. It could be within a single meeting. But if you don't know how to get out of that, like, I don't want to change the recipe. I don't know how to change the recipe. You always have to almost say yes to this, because you're going to be delivering a new product. And it's more of your socials. It's more of your structural change. Your product was good, but it wasn't formulated for a large audience. So now you have to change the formulation in your factory to make 100 million bottles instead of 10 million bottles, or make 1 million bottles instead of 100,000 bottles. That's sort of the stuff that goes on here. And I draw attention to government programs because it is like, well, the government's going to go look at your... It is transparency. It sucks. It's a horrible process. But it's transparency in the sense that they want to see that you're actually managing, and you're going to be managing tax dollars appropriately to be able to service and do what you're saying you're going to do. It's a little bit of a litmus test. It's a little bit of an audit, but it does work out in your favor most of the time. So you can get 50% government, you can get government support. I talk more about this as an asset creation, but you are creating an asset here. The thing is, you're still saving money. You're getting money back from what you're doing where you wouldn't have done it before. The government is a type of partner. Be it that they're supporting the kitchen expansion or helping you to buy the services of a new formulation expert, for the hot sauce example. But for innovative potential, it's like, no, the government is going to be buying units to run through clinical trials independently, and veterinary trials independently of innovative potential. There are lots of programs set up. There's IRAP, there's NSERC, there's the US programs as well, that deal specifically with this. There's 250,000 Legion doctors that do this as a daily basis for both university stuff and for private corporations. There are private corporations that do this for private corporations. You know, we're talking millions of people who do this for their daily lives. This isn't a joke. This isn't like fooling around here. But there, at the same time, there's hardware equipment. There's hardware manufacturers. There's stuff to have already completed, which leads into a customer check-in. So it's like, once you're able to access government programs or have the government programs work for you for the capacity that you want, it's your real customer checkpoint. What's happening with your customer checkpoint is this is your customer streamlined process, where it's like your customers need something. So if you go from the top to the bottom to the top again, so a need for something goes to your customer checkpoint and it comes back up. So this is, and it goes into marketing proper, because your more traditional marketing understanding tools, techniques really start to like really just sort of get spread open a little bit here. So you might have a business that is franchised, has multiple locations in multiple cities, in multiple states, in multiple countries. Still doing the same basic thing, but if you're going to grow even more, so if you repeat this cycle even again, you have to make sure that the customer process is sort of the same thing. Like when the customer shows, what is the customer's expectation of the transaction kind of thing? Are they, is this a custom, you know, are we sitting down and designing a house? Or I want one of your things that you mass produce. I want one of these. Here's some money. I want one of these. You know, goodbye. You'll never see this person again, but they're happy. Kind of thing. So that's sort of what the customer, what is the customer money exchange? What does money transaction look like? And that's really your customer checkpoint, because that's where it's sort of like what makes them happy to do an impulse buy. If you have and this is where I almost want to sort of like caveat this, because it's like different industries and different products have a different environment feedback. So it's like if you're selling candy at the grocery store aisle, it's an impulse buy for the hungry people, because they're hungry. They're going to buy the candy right beside the cash register. That's a customer checkpoint and initial sales technique, where it's just like, well, the hungry person who went to go buy the groceries is more apt to pick up a Snickers and put it in their thing so they can eat it after, because they like what's going on with the Snickers, than if, you know, you just had your lunch and you went shopping. Because then you're only going to stick to the list. You're not going to all your needs are fulfilled and satisfied, and you're not going to do anything. Ideally, you want someone with none of their needs fulfilled on that Maslow hierarchy triangle, because they're just gonna have to like all of it. None of their needs are fulfilled, and they're gonna have to buy all of it. So there's your customer checkpoint and initial sales. Initial sales is it's just straight up initial sales. Are you making those? It's the assessment of you doing what you want to do, and like how do your sales actually track across a year. This is more data and analytical, and it ties in with your business presentation, because what's happening here is you're going to get seasonal trends or weekly trends, or why is this one location, like you're going to get, like I use a jam example where you're manufacturing jam, but jam sales spike in the winter time and die off in the summertime, partially because you're using it for like holiday baking. Well, you can't really do much about that. You can try to like get people to eat more jam in the summer, but because their kids are home from school, they're having better breakfasts or something like that. So like jam in the summer isn't really a thing. You have to invent new products, like a frozen jam, like a frozen jam gazpacho ice cream dessert or something that would consume your product so that other people eat your product when you typically don't sell your product. So that's kind of what we're getting into with marketing initial sales. It's really like you're honing in on the analytics and figuring out how and why certain locations are selling more than others. So it's like you could have put a franchise next to a 24-hour franchise. Going back to McDonald's, you could put a 24-hour franchise next to a bar. Well, all the drunks are coming out at all the college next to a bar in a college town, versus another location that is in a more 9-to-5 work type of establishment. So not making the connection that there's a bar right next to the college town one. And so their midnight sales go through the roof every Friday. It's like, what the hell's going on every Friday in this city? Whereas you're never going to see that type of sale in your more downtown business district McDonald's. You know what I mean? So it's like, that's where you start to see how is the business presenting in amidst other types of locations. And you do get into location dependent sales. That's kind of what's going on here. And when you start figuring out like what makes them different and what makes them tick, you can now select different environments. And this is where it comes into the environment feedback, where it's like, yeah, it is location. It's like the location of your business will behave differently if it's in a different environment than if it's not in the same environment. Which takes you back to your new responsibilities and identity shift, which if you're going to be making changes to your currently existing business to make it perform better or something like that, you might have to actually take on new responsibilities. You might have to, if you're really wealthy, you open a bar next to the downtown financial one, so it can also have, well, why not open 2 bars? I'll open 2 bars right next to my other 2 McDonald's franchises, so now when everybody gets out at closing time, my night shifts are both, profiting through the day and the night, and I don't see that midnight dip happening. I just go like pure profit on, like non-stop. So that's sort of the like new responsibilities. You've opened a different type of restaurant, or you've opened a different type of eatery or social venue. That being said, you could go switch to coffee or something like that. But even for McDonald's, I'll use innovative potential on this one more. The identity shift of innovative potential changed as it grew into a U.S. corporation, or to have a U.S. corporation. What goes on with that one is now you have to like sort of account for all of the people, and we do that already with the patent. So all of the people have already been accounted for. It's now just like internal learning of all of the people. And that comes from your customers and your customer feedback. So basically, there's a lot of morale issues with the doctors. When they lose a patient, they do take it like somewhat personally because it's their work and it's like their job. When you're up on the horse, when they're riding high, it's like, yeah, this is my patient, this is my people. I'm responsible for them. I can't fuck up. At the very least, I can't fuck up as to the prescription of the law. And then the other half is like, I really don't like. It's horribly demoralizing knowing that this is going to go into like the death category, like the patient will die because of the way this disease behaves. And you always have to just constantly prepare a new person to accept death all the time. Because the doctors are not using the product from innovative potential. So that's a little bit of a self-feeding loop there. It's breakable, but can't be everywhere at once. It's part of why I make this. It's like, well, if one video can explain everything, how this is working, how it's supposed to work, or what are you supposed to do, where's your revenue, what's all this, and that's sort of where the traditional business people are just like, we don't deal in national level assets. We like look at like McDonald's franchises and see which ones are going to be more profitable because that's all we have. They're not capable of doing anything additional, partially because they're not thinking about it, but additionally is the amount of times a McDonald's franchise has been copy and pasted into a different city, and even within the same city, has turned into a business in and of itself, where it's like the annual performance of a McDonald's franchise is known before the franchise even goes into existence. You can't get anything out of a McDonald's that isn't already like known. That's part of its strength, but that's its biggest weakness. And that's part of the identity shift. So it's like if they want new profits, they have to change what they're selling. And you see them doing like lobster, like do people like lobster? We're going to test market a whole bunch of different things to see if we can sell lobster to people or something like that. So these are types of like advanced business sort of like not ideas, but they're full-fledged theses. People get their MBAs looking at this type of like behavior. People are running McDonald's looking at this type of behavior, saying like, well, other than the flavor or the memory associated, the initial memory formed with somebody else's hamburger has to be overwritten with McDonald's hamburger, and that is more difficult than, it's not impossible, but it's way more difficult than you would suspect or realize. Marketing and budgeting and economy. So when you start getting up into economy type of like considerations, this is where you're going like full supply line, full society, full everything, full life cycle type of stuff, because you're now purchasing farmland to supply your restaurants with. And that's usually where this comes from, where it's just like, no, you're purchasing farms to grow cattle specifically for your hamburger distribution system, your beef distribution supply line. And then you get ancillary products by selling steak that isn't, by selling the whole cow, you get to sell the steak and the cheese and the milk and the burger to, everybody else. So those are the ancillary products of being a primary producer, and that shifts like large corporations like McDonald's to become a primary producer, or at least create a corporation that is going to behave exclusively for McDonald's and put McDonald's in its best interest. That's like when you're talking growth, those are your development contracts that happened in like the 60s. We're just buying farmland to service McDonald's and the beef industry, and that's kind of how it works. That's just kind of the way it is. And then you have to commit to that scale. Because it's like, well, no, if there's 300 million people, you have to be able to have the resources secured to be able to continuously supply that amount of people. But you have to be able to have and demonstrate the capacity to reach that supply, and that the need and demand is actually there. With burgers, it's not really much of a... You can eat pork, you can eat pork on a burger kind of thing. You can eat chicken. Everybody can eat chicken. There's no dietary restrictions on chicken. But that's sort of the idea here, where it's just like, when you're committing to these large industries, you have to secure like you're putting McDonald's into a mining position because it has to secure or be able to secure the stainless steel used for the cattle electric fences. So a good investment for McDonald's that you see in the city or the franchise is in a steel producer to be able to produce the wire gauges that are going to make the electric fences to grow more cattle and fence posts. Like, you know, so you're getting this like huge, like sweeping story arc here that is like, no, like everything's thought of, but nobody tells you the whole history or like the whole like thought, even just like the whole thought process steps. And that's what the Wheel of Profit is. It's like, here's all the thought process steps for your specific business you didn't even know you had to make before you made all your stuff. So if you're like if you're like a tax consultant or something, or even if you're just working like a primary steel industry or something, like, well, you might be doing your technical stuff, but this is what's happening around the sale of your product. You might be producing the product, that's asset creation, but everything that goes around the money, this is what goes around the money. On the other side of this is asset creation, and that goes around your product. So if you want somebody else's product, you're following this wheel. If you want someone else to want your product, you use the other one. So that's kind of how it goes. It just inverts itself. So economy is different. It's like, it's going from, I have a little shop, I'm selling little Play-Doh things in my initial shop, like sales. You know, you do some advertisements, you grow your franchise, there's another, you know, Play-Doh shop in a different city. You grow your word of mouth and sales and market revenue through your marketing efforts, but then you start getting to the point where it's like, well, I'm always at the scale. You reach a point where the scale of your purchases for the plastic containers is starting to eat into your bottom line, because while this might be fun, it's not essential. Meaning your business is not essential, which means COVID is going to bite into it. But the point is here is that the rent for your shops keeps going up, whereas this is now a liability. If you can get into if you can start manufacturing your own plastic containers instead of purchasing a pre-made plastic container, well, then that's going to save you money, and you're going to be able to do this wheel another year, another full cycle kind of thing. Might be you might be like looking at decade time frames or something like that. But well, if you can manufacture your own plastic and your own plastic containers, you're now in a position to be able to sell yourself your own plastic containers. You make a corporation to sell yourself your own plastic containers. You make a corporation to sell yourself your own beef feed to be able to sell your beef. You make a corporation to be your own abattoir or slaughterhouse. That's how economy of scale works on this, and everybody grows into it. So that's kind of where the identity shift and budgeting, the identity shift that your marketing faces, like, no, it's like if I can buy my own consumables, well, then I got a budget to buy my own consumables, and I gotta commit to be a semi-producer rather than like a sort of like storefront or a distributor. So now this wheel forces everybody into you always get forced into a production scenario, no matter what industry you're in. So then you have commitment, your plans for action, your research, ideas for solution, means the need for something. Your plans for action are different. Your research is different. Your ideas for solution are different, and these focus way back on your growth. Go to the other side of the wheel for your growth. Because the colors are still, your plan for action in your economy stage has to almost start with a development contract. and you have to frame your plan for action with a development contract in mind. So get a partner or something and start it with a development contract and say, okay, well, since we're in partnership, we do this, we can grow at this page and at this rate. By the time we finished growing, where are we going to be after we're finished growing with you as a partner? If both of us are not in a position after we grow together to continue growing together, we're not doing the contract. It stops. Unless the thing is like so important, like, well, we can't get through this technological gap, but then it's like you design your own contracts for that. But that's sort of the idea. It's like you're planning for 2, 3, 5, maybe 10, 100 things down the road. With food, it's easy because 100 years from now, you're going to need beef. Are you going to need Play-Doh 100 years from now? No. You're going to be able to make it really cheaply 100 years from now, but it's not essential to have. Medicine is 100 years from now. Well, 100 years from now, I want that Tesla bot to be walking around with my dong and personality to match. That should be finished within the next 5 years. I don't care that it can do tasks. I want my voice and my face coming out of its screen. You know what I mean? The full immortality package. That's where we're at. So that sort of plans for action and research. But the research is like, okay, well, how do you achieve that? If you're going to be doing these like jumps, you still have to land within. You're going to jump this much. It's not this, because it's not. Your jumps do this. And when you're here, you filled in all of this way.
Yeah.
You did, like, projects always show up late. There's always these like little things that get, like, there's always sand in the oyster. But that's how you get the pearl. So if you don't want the pearl, then get out of the business, because that's how all your major construction projects work. That's how all the shipping delays work. That's how all the mining, if there's a war that stops the fuel from reaching the mining quarry where your new McDonald's restaurant countertops are being created in, then, there's 6 years added on to a project rollout. It's stuff like that when you get into the economy scale, it's like you're throwing like decade to century long numbers out at people, and it's just like, yes, they have to work well into a 250-year time range. It sounds crazy, but no, it has to still work. This has to still be valuable 250 years from now to warrant a mass production system, I guess. So the way it works with innovative potential is that today, one person dies every 3 seconds without innovative potential's direct intervention. So that sort of brings you to these ideas for solution, and that's when you actually start getting to like research-based experimentation. It's like we just need the idea to be able to, like, it might be a manufacturing process. It might be, well, we needed a new type of fertilizer in order to get the price point we want to do the expansion we needed. We actually had to invest in a new type of fertilizer creation equipment to be able to bring the price of production down low enough that we can give a McDonald's hamburger to everybody for free. Like full Big Mac. It might just be a cheeseburger. Cheeseburger day, everybody in America gets a free cheeseburger courtesy of McDonald's. But the point is, you can do it. It's not a Big Mac. You're working for Big Mac, the Big Mac day, but you're not there yet because you don't know how to nitrogen fix, or you don't know how to farm wheat in a colder climate with like that. You're like McDonald's and Monsanto or Tweet basically at this point. They're both majorly supporting each other, kind of thing. Where it's like, well, if we don't get a frost-hardy crop, or if we don't get a climate hardy crop, then nobody gets anything. So that's where memes come in. It's like, because these overarching concepts are so sort of like, GMO is a meme, cancer gun is a meme, intratumor injection is a meme, cancer itself is a meme. They're standalone ideas. If I type into Google, I get a whole litany of pictures and stuff that come out when I say hamburgers. A cheeseburger is a different type. It's an alternative product for something like, for 25 cents of cheese, I get an alternative product, the exact same thing. So there's whole bunches of ways to do this independently for like a whole bunch of different businesses. It's opening. The point of this is to open your eyes to be able to see how it can work for you in your specific everyday example. And this is used with the wheel of asset creation because they're kind of two sides of the same coin. The wheel of, I'm going to say cancer biology, the wheel of pharmaceutical development, the wheel of health literacy, the wheel of electronics, the wheel of robotics. They're all in there just trying, not trying, well, they are trying. I don't know who's on the other end of this video, but they're all there making sense of what happened in the last 20 years. Since COVID, they all make sense of everything since COVID using the internet. So if you're feeling lost or needing to just say, like, how does stuff work? You know, this is how stuff works. Like, you have to sort of you're simultaneously the like penultimate and the absolute nothing at the exact same time, because you're going to shift and you're going to move around and you're going to really start to understand how all of these like things intricately connect and work together. And that's just one of those like the ways to measure innovative potential. It's like, it's still got to work and it's still got to make sense. If it stops making sense, chances are it might stop working. And if it doesn't stop working, if it doesn't work, you're not getting paid. If the burger tastes like shit, you're not getting paid. And then back into a need for it. Then you go from memes, just like general ideas about stuff. So it's like people understand it. How are you gonna profit off of memes? It's like you have to be that gigantic to be able to profit off of a meme. And if you're not able to get that, then like Ronald McDonald, he is a meme in and of himself. The Hamburglar, like you can variation the core concept of Ronald McDonald and the Hamburglar, and have a Krusty Burglar, and everybody still understands what you're talking about. You can have Krusty the Crown or Krusty Burger, and everybody knows what you're talking about stuff. It's still the same basic idea. You can have the King from Burger King. It's all the same, like categorized as the same basic idea. Meeting the right people works here because memes are so like quickly transferable or understandable, or just like really just core concept, like okay, I understand. It could just be offset in a joke. We're gonna grow oysters in an abandoned mining shaft because they can filter out pollutants and contaminants. Suddenly we're the world's richest pearl producers, because the oysters did extremely well because we did this whole thing in 10 times. We just grow oysters in abandoned mine shafts now. We add a little bit of UV lighting and a little bit of pH balance, and they do the rest of it. environmentally friendly and sustainable pearls. But they're made out of like tailings mining pond contaminated mine shafts. Poison water turned into beautiful pearls. That's innovative potential. How do you utilize that side? Is it profitable? Like everything is always profitable. It's just you have to like really start. You have to do your research and you have to understand how stuff works. And you have to be able to make it work. Almost everything can be able to make work nowadays. It's just really, pick up the phone and call. That's sort of the like send the email. You gotta really leverage your networking. Like even if you've already met the right person, you still have to network with them to see how all of this other stuff is going to play out. And that's the importance of having like all of these different like sort of like checkpoints here. It's like, oh no, something good happened. What do I like? Something good happened. Holy shit! What do I do? And it's just like, well, you do this. This is what you do because there's nothing else to do. Like you're really not like you're just gonna do it. For every project that you're involved in, you do this process for every project that you're involved in, and you do this over time. There's really not really gonna be another change getting stuff done. Success. The steps of success don't really change. It's just when you're trying to succeed at changes. When you get good at succeeding, you get good like me, and you become the night manager at McDonald's. Okay, that's nice. Happy Halloween.